This CIA story in the Guardian. We are what now? 15 years out from, at least, from the understanding that the U.S. government had a full-on policy of torturing people in the wake of 9/11. And often this would happen in places like Guantanamo Bay, but it also would happen at CIA black sites. Guardian reports that a detainee at a secret CIA detention site in Afghanistan was used as a living prop to teach trainee interrogators. I mean, I don't understand like why we are saying, you know, you're not a trainee interrogator, you're a trainee torturer who lined up to take turns at knocking his head against a plywood wall, leaving him with brain damage. This is according to a U.S. government report. The details of the torture of Amar Albaluchi are in a 2008 report by the CIA's Inspector General. I mean, I remember the images of the senators walking out of these classified meetings, looking grim. Of course, they did nothing about it. This report, newly declassified, is part of a court filing by his lawyers aimed at getting him an independent medical examination. Baluchi is a 44-year-old Kuwaiti. He is one of 5 defendants before a military tribunal on Guantanamo Bay charged with participation in the 9/11 plot. But the case has been in pretrial hearings for 10 years, mired in a dispute over the legal admissibility of testimony obtained after torture. According to the Inspector General's report, the CIA was aware that the 2003 rendition of the detainee, al-Baluchi, from Pakistani custody to the black site in north of Kabul was conducted, quote, extra legally. Because at the time he was in Pakistani jurisdiction and no longer represented a terrorist threat. The technique of walling was approved by the, quote, enhanced interrogation technique, end quote, guidelines sent by CIA headquarters.
Oh, so you know it's coming from a good place, right? They vetted it.
Well, it's called the enhanced interrogation technique, so we know it's not torture.
Walling, is that the knocking someone's head against the wall?
Yep. It involved placing the detainee's heels against a specially designed plywood wall, which, quote, had flexibility to it, and putting a rolled up towel around the detainee's neck. The interrogators would then grab the ends of the towel in front of and below the detainee's face and shove Baluchi backwards into the wall, never letting go of the towel, the report said. One of the interrogators, identified only by a code, said the goal was to bounce the detainee off the wall. The report noted that Baluchi was naked for the proceedings. This presumably was so that the interrogator trainees could get the full impact of what they were able to do, I guess. There was no time limit for the walling sessions, but, quote, typically a session did not last for more than 2 hours at a time.
That's a comfort. That and the flexibility of the wall, right? That's what changes it from torture to enhanced interrogation.
Typically, the session did not last for more than 2 hours. They went on for so long because Baluchi was being used as a prop for teaching purposes. One former trainee told investigators all the interrogation students lined up to wall Ammar so that the instructor could certify them on their ability to use the technique. I mean, it's at that point, if they're actually going through a certification process, it's not hard to imagine that they get certified in waterboarding, they get certified in all sorts of other torture techniques. A neuropsychologist carried out an MRI of Baluchi's head in late 2018 and found abnormalities indicating moderate to severe brain damage, affecting memory formation and retrieval as well as behavioral regulation. Specialists found that the abnormalities observed were consistent with traumatic brain injury. And the Inspector General's report also concluded that Baluchi's treatment did not yield any useful intelligence. This is what we know about torture. Ammar fabricated the information he provided when undergoing EITs. That's a euphemism. That's an acronym for euphemism, which means torture, incidentally. He later admitted to his interrogators' debriefers that he was terrified and lied to agency officers to stop the measures. Ammar also explained, and this is what experts in this know, Ammar also explained that he was afraid to tell a lie and was afraid to tell the truth because he did not know how either would be received.
Yeah, that's what experts about torture say. It's the victim will look for whatever they can find to make the torture stop, and it doesn't mean that what's going to come out is truth.
Absolutely.
But the good thing we're the good guys, right?
How and we should be clear. One of the people who oversaw this was John Brennan. You can see him nightly, I think, on MSNBC. I don't know if he's on nightly. The other person who did nothing about this was Gina Haspel, who was our last, functioning? Is she still there? No, under Trump. CIA director. So let's be clear. We know this happened. Our own government reported that it happened. We've known it for 14 years. And the number of people who have been, I don't know if anyone's, never mind, who have been prosecuted for this, is not only is that zero, the number of people who have been, I don't know, docked pay, demoted is also zero. The number of people who got promotions after this, at least I think off the top of my head, 3 or 4. Can't remember the name of the other guy. I want to say Rodriguez, one of the other guys who was associated with this, also moved up the ladder at the CIA. John Brennan, he went from counterterror, and we should say the first time Brennan was up for a position in the Obama administration, he didn't get it because people were, this was fresh in people's minds. By the second go around, the guy got made head of the CIA, I think it was, right, Brennan, or in his final position. And now he's just a, just giving contributor was Jose Rodriguez. Yes. And he moved up, if I remember correctly, as well.
So Amar Albaluchi is still in Guantanamo Bay. Is that right? According to
This is
his case has been in pretrial hearings for 10 years.
Yep.
So, mired in a dispute over legal admissibility of testament. We already understand that, there's no habeas corpus, there's no right to a fair and speedy trial, which is supposed to be constitutional rights that are applied to people that are detained in Guantanamo Bay. But people may still have zero understanding of how something like half or more were basically just innocent and were subject to, but by the United States' standards, there are definitely more that should not have been locked up for that period of time, let alone subjected to any torture techniques, which should not be allowed. But there are thousands of people that we tortured and killed in this process that had nothing to do, because it was just, this is my neighbor, I have an issue with him, I'm going to report them to the United States. There was a lot of people like that.
Yeah, we offered a bounty in Afghanistan, and rival tribal leaders, or people like you say who had petty conflicts, would turn in their their frenemies or their enemies, and we held many men in Guantanamo. We don't really know the numbers of how many people we did this to at black sites. somebody knows. Somebody has a good sense. They haven't done anything about it. So, when people say that we have no moral authority on these topics, they're right. That doesn't necessarily mean that we shouldn't call it out wherever it happens. But I think it's very difficult for people to maintain some type of righteous indignation as opposed to just pointing out the offenses. I mean, and keep that in mind. And, it is reprehensible that a guy like Brennan in particular would pay no price. I mean,
Haspel was oversaw that. What was the block site in Thailand?
Yep.
That was her job for years and years. She was overseeing torture, and instead of being prosecuted for war crimes and being excommunicated from public life, she gets rewarded. CIA director. That's America in a nutshell.
Yes. And so, I don't know what else, I don't know where she is now. I imagine she's sitting on some board of directors of some weapons manufacturer or intelligence.
After retiring from the CIA, Haspel began advising the law firm King and Spalding in July 2021.
And who knows what
I'm sure she's getting some sort of fat check.
And it's just a matter of time before Brennan, maybe he moves on. Maybe he hosts his own show on MSNBC, or maybe he goes just into straight entertainment. And
it's wild. Like the CIA is even the spying on the Senate thing. The Senate's supposed to be a fairly high body of governance in this country. He was saying, "Let me assure you, the CIA was in no way spying on the committee or the Senate." And as Wyden later tweeted out, CIA broke into Senate computer files, then tried to have Senate staff prosecuted absolutely unacceptable in a democracy.
And so unacceptable that they did nothing. That's how unacceptable it was.
So unacceptable that
went
we'll
all the way
accept
around.
it.
Yes.
All the way around again.
Right. Circles back around. Exactly. That's the way
The
that works.
acceptability boomerang.